Yes, it's on.
All right, this is case number 22-243421. This is Rosalind Hawthorne versus that's POAH Community. The matter is before the court, set on for trial on today's date. Your appearance for any attorney that's in this matter, your appearance first, counsel.
Ali Rabbit, speed 25314 on behalf of the defendant, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, counsel. And I believe that I have on this Zoom Ms. Rosalind Hawthorne, who is the plaintiff in this matter. Is that correct, Ms. Hawthorne? Good morning.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, Ms.
Your Honor.
Hawthorne. Thank you. All right, the matter is set on for trial. The matter started before this court with the submission of a small claims complaint alleging damages in the amount of $6,000 as a result of removal from items from an apartment and storage area based upon a rental that was occurring at or previous to the time. All right, and the matter was removed to the General Civil Division, and that's why the matter is before this court. It was before a previous judge, but then it was reassigned as that judge is no longer on this docket. All right, you ready to proceed to trial at this time, Ms. Hawthorne?
Yes, Your Honor, I am.
Thank you. Mr. Rabbit, you ready to proceed to trial at this time, sir?
If need be, Your Honor, but however, we filed a motion to adjourn this case on April 13th because my client, Miranda White, who is here, but is apparently, I think, in an airport, waiting to get on an airplane. And I advised Ms. Hawthorne and the court of that on April 13th and asked for a 1-week adjournment. If Ms. White is actually able to Zoom in right now, then I guess it would be okay to proceed. But she was in an airport. She was going to be in an airport on an airplane. And I don't know if she's able to appear or not. It looks like she's not. I see her face here, but I'm not hearing anything from her. So I would request the matter be, oh, she's back. Miranda, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Oh, then we can go forward, Your Honor. You're at the airport, Miranda?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good. Your Honor, then we're prepared to go forward.
I do now observe it was tucked away in one of the inner folders, the motion for the adjournment of trial. The court had not seen that prior to the time that Mr. Rabbit mentioned it because it was placed into one of the inner files. But I do see that was filed on the 13th of April of 2023. It looks like the parties are all set to go, and so the court does not need to address that issue at this time. The trial, of course, begins with the opening statement of the respective parties. The plaintiff gets to go forward first because Ms. Hawthorne has the burden of proof in this matter by preponderance of the evidence. The opening statement is simply that. It's not evidence. It is a statement, an opening of a statement simply indicating what you believe the case will show. It is not the case itself. It is simply saying, I believe that the evidence in this case will show this, that, or the other. I intend to prove in this case that certain things occurred, and then you describe those briefly. Opening statement is designed to be brief because it's just a opening statement. The plaintiff gets to offer that statement first. The defendant has the right to offer an opening statement immediately after the plaintiff offers an opening statement, but does not have to. The plaintiff, strike that defendant, can wait until the beginning of any presentation of his case or the case on behalf of pro community and make his opening statement at that time. After the opening statements are made, then it will be the plaintiff's opportunity to present evidence to the court. Evidence consists of sworn testimony and documents that might be offered, witnesses that might be offered to provide relevant information to the court that proclaims or that pertains to the matter that is brought before the court. Any evidence that is presented can be cross-examined and or attacked, if you will, by the opposing party. And the court will make rulings upon the presentation of evidence as those matters go along. After the plaintiff has presented her side of the case, The defendant will have the opportunity to cross-examine. And after the cross-examination and the close of the plaintiff's case, the defendant will then have the right to present evidence or to present information to the court. And the defendants, right, that the plaintiff will have the right to ask questions of any witnesses presented by the defendant. So both sides get opportunity to present direct evidence and to cross-examine any evidence or challenge any evidence presented by the other side. But the plaintiff gets to go forward first because the plaintiff has the burden of proof. Ultimately, the plaintiff will get the last word because the plaintiff has the burden of proof. In the end, the parties will make a closing argument, and that is a summary of what you believe the case has shown and what you're asking the court to do. After the plaintiff presents her summary or closing argument, the defendant will have a right to present a closing argument. And then finally, the defendant, the plaintiff will have the right to make a final closing statement, an initial closing statement, and then a final closing statement. Ms. Hawthorne will get the last word because she has the burden of proof. All right. And Ms. Hawthorne, it is to you now to give an opening statement if you wish to, just a brief summary of what you think this case will show. Go ahead, Ms. Hawthorne.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor, for hearing my case today. What happened was on or about March the 3rd, I discovered in my storage room, which is on the first floor, I lived on the 5th floor at the time, an event was going to happen. Sales, people make vendor sales, resales, different events, entertainment, just different things be going on. So that particular day, when I discovered my personal belongings was missing and thrown out and destroyed, was on that date, March the 2nd or 3rd. I did get my money back from the person that who was giving the event due to the fact of my stuff was destroyed. I had brand new merchandise that I was going to sell at that event. Hats, dashikis, oils, those was all new dresses, just fedora hats, military hats, just to name a few, okay? And also I had, on top of my storage was number 47, the Pole community, they hired a construction worker to drill a hole in the upper left-hand corner of my cage. And it just looked like a cage, a fence. They threw away all of my stands that I used to sell, put my albums on, merchandise at different venues like Eastern Market, VA Hospital, and they all witnesses that I have those type of things. I also bought some of my old magazines from John King Bookstore. All that, my Betty White, Angela Davis magazine was messed up, destroyed from water damage, but I'm jumping ahead of myself, but I want to go back to the storage cage. I had another storage cage that was...
Ms. Hawthorne, let me stop you for just a moment. Remember that this is an opening statement. So let me...
Okay.
This is not a presentation of your case. So my understanding in your opening statement is that you're indicating that some items that you had in a bins that was your storage area, the bins was open and the items in that cage were thrown away, and that you're asking the court for damage.
And damaged.
And some were damaged, some were thrown away, and you're asking the court to award you damages in that regard. Is there some other area that you wanted to raise in your opening statement as well?
Right, and they neglect to my damaging of my personal belongings by the construction workers and the employees that Miss Miranda White knew, she told them to throw the stuff out. So it was neglect on Pole community to be even concerned about my substantial loss. So this is why I'm here today, and I lost money, and that's why I'm here today, to address this issue to the court.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Hawthorne. Mr. Ravis, it's to you for our opening statement if you wish to give an opening statement at this time, sir.
Yes, I do. I'll give a brief opening statement, Your Honor. The events that Ms. Hawthorne's describing occurred in 2019. And the court should be aware that in 2019, on August 19th of 2019, an order of eviction was entered against Ms. Hawthorne, requiring her to vacate the property no later than September 30th of 2019. The reason for that being is she's engaged in numerous altercations with other residents, and for that reason, the landlord evicted her. Number two, we did not at any time remove any of her property. Number three, the tenant has failed to attach to her complaint a copy of the storage agreement that she signed. We have a copy of a portion of it, and the copy of the portion that we have is a relevant portion, and it provides as follows. Under liability, section 3, resident uses a storage space at resident's sole risk. 8330 on the river is not responsible for the loss or damage to residents' possessions due to any cause. 8330 on the river strongly urges residents to obtain his or her own renter's insurance coverage for their possessions. The tenants occupied the storage units. They do so at their own risk. And in this particular case, the tenant has not attached the agreement to her complaint as she was obligated to do. And for that reason, the matter should be dismissed. But aside from that, Your Honor, she used the unit at her own risk. And it's also very important to know we didn't do anything to her property. We did not tell her that she should leave property that's damaged. I don't know what it is she's claiming, but we never did anything to her property at all. And we did not abuse it by drilling holes above her locker. And that's what the evidence will show. And Ms. Roy will testify to that fact.
Oh my God, I object. Can I step in, Judge, because I am representing myself.
No, you can't step in there. That's why I went over what the trial procedure is. I'm gonna allow you to begin offering testimony. You get to tell me what happened, and I will consider the evidence that you present to the court. Like I said, these are opening statements. They gave an opening summary of what they believe this case shows. You gave an opening summary of what you believe the case shows. And now it's your opportunity to present to the court to talk about what occurred in this case. Obviously, one of the things as I was looking at the file that I'm sure the parties will talk about is that there was some order of eviction that was signed. And when all of this occurred in relationship to any of those issues, I'm sure that's going to come up. And that was a part of something that was said by one of the parties in the opening statement. Ms. Hawthorne, it's your opportunity now to present testimony or evidence in this matter. So if you can turn your camera on, I'd like to swear you in as a witness now, so that you can go forward and offer testimony under oath.
You want me to turn the camera on? Isn't that on?
Well, I'm not able to see you.
Okay,
so
let me see.
See if you can turn it on, just so that I can swear you in, and then you could go back off camera.
Okay, let me see if I can know how to do that. Start. Okay, can you see me now?
I need you to raise your right hand to be sworn at this time, will you, ma'am? All right, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God, nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
All right, very well. Thank you. You've been sworn as a witness now, and you may proceed to tell me under oath what happened in this case. Ma'am, go right ahead. I'm listening to your testimony.
Okay. Like I was saying, I was assigned to that particular storage bin, which they should have the paper, because I have a copy of it, and I gave you a copy, and I gave the defendant lawyer a copy. Okay, that the storage cable was assigned to me, and that I took pictures of their contractor, had not him doing it, but after he did it, it was a lot of debris. If you see in the pictures, it's clearly showing that something went on there, and it was debris from the ceiling. The new wire was put up, and Miss Miranda White, she need to admit that she did hire construction workers that day. And also, they threw away like I said, my merchandise on top of the cage, so the construction worker can get in it. Now, mind you, I'm not a bad person. I'm not a hard person to get along. I even gave the office, the whole staff, new gloves Christmas that year, okay? Which was the year before December. My thing is this, she also knew that Diane, another resident, was allowed by Heather Atkins, the manager, office manager, gave her, she signed papers with Diane to allow me, she said she didn't mind me putting my stuff in her locker because she was not using it. So Miss Miranda White office files was on top of that because they like top layer and bottom layer. Miss Miranda them office boxes, file off boxes was on top. They was made of cardboard, but it was about maybe 8 boxes, and it slid down on top of my new hats that I had just purchased. I had given you receipts to show that they were brand new hats, military hats, sun visor hats, floppy hats, stylish hats that you can wear to church, baseball caps. I had all those type of hats. Also, back to my own personal items, I had some albums. As you see on my wall here, I have the 4 Tops, I have Marvin Gaye, I'm a collector. I used to work for Motown Museum years ago when Miss Edwards first started. They were selling a lot of the albums, okay? And that was back in 2000, and I'm gonna say it was 1992. I worked there as a tour guide. So I was able to get access to a lot of that stuff. But then other albums and magazines, I collect from John King Bookstore, hard and rare to find books. I just go to People's record shops. And so I have a bunch of albums. Now, this particular witness that they supposed to have, Bert Carr, he the one gave me some albums too. He came to me and said, Rosalind, you're a collector. I'm going to give you some of my albums. They wasn't Motown, but it was jazz albums like Donald Byrd and etc. He gave me about 15 of them. Okay. Now, Miss Miranda White came up to my apartment, another incident where she is witness to my albums, because as you see, they're on my wall now in my apartment. They was on my wall at the apartment at 8330 on the river. She came in with the state and she said, oh, Rosalind, your albums are so nice. You know, I'm having an event that's coming up. She had an event like that Father's Day of 2000 and I think it was 18. And I was working on Marvin Gaye stamp and I gave a fundraiser. And so she seemed like she just got kind of mad because Alice, I don't know, she's over the activity director. I asked her, can I do it? She said yes. And I didn't have money. So I said, I got Detroit. They wanted Detroit to be a part of Marvin Gaye stamp. So I volunteered because Marvin Gaye's sister called me and I said, okay, but she didn't give me no money. The girl that's real big fan and started this Marvin Gaye stamp, Marvin Gaye's sister, Ziola Gaye, gave her my number she's from North Carolina, and another girl out of Ohio. I wasn't really getting support. Everybody was so excited about it. So I guess when Miss Miranda White, that's what I'm trying to say, had gave that event outside that July, it was a health event. The 4 Tops brothers was there, the Stubbs sisters. And so I'm thinking that maybe I told her I would display my albums outside, you know. And so when I gave the fundraiser, I guess she thought I was doing something ahead of her, but I gave that fundraiser like in March. It was cold outside, you know? So ever since then, she's been having attitude. Now, as you see that I have made numerous of police reports also that I showed a picture of my doorknob was broken in. She was going to Paris that week. Matter of fact, they tried to break in my apartment twice. No time did she ask them to do an in-house incident report. Michael came up, the supervisor of matrons, and he had had somebody put a new lock on my door. And he also witnessed my magazines was messed up from the machines above me. I'm 509, 609 is the laundry room. And Sandra, she the security there. She happened to be in my apartment because when I cooked, it was just me, and she come in the night and I feed her. Matter of fact, I fed a lot of people in that building, including Pamela Rachel. I even paid for her train ticket when I went to Chicago. You know, I don't know why she didn't like me, why she had something against me, but whatever. She started a fight with me. Okay, I know I'm doing run-on sentences, but excuse me. I'm just trying to get you to see a big picture of the attitude of this reckless behavior that was going on in the Pole community with me and the staff. Okay, and it seems like I was singled out because I told Miranda White when she called the police. I went to police station first. It was July the 31st. No, excuse me, June the 30th. Blues in the Woods. I didn't ask Pam to go with me. Pam's brother came in town from Chicago. Okay, the girl who they let stay in the apartment building, who started in all this mess about fighting and all this kind of stuff. Several times the girl threatened me. Okay, and Miranda White supported her. So that day of the fight, I went to the police station. Then the next day, Pam walked out the door, said something to me, I'm gonna kick your ass again. And the only reason why Pam won that case or whatever it was, I was trying to put a case against her, Officer Clark. He told me, said, tell my nephew was the only one who witnessed it. Well, he wasn't the only one who witnessed it, but they asked him to come. But by him having a DUI on his record, he was scared. You know, he didn't want to, you know, get involved, I guess, because he didn't want to go to the penitentiary or Oakland County Jail or whatever it was. So, and then I didn't have my papers right. You know, I forgot the paper to show to the judge that she put a PPO on me with the help of Miranda White, keep on provoking Rosalind. She say something to you, come to me, I write a report, you go to the police station, blah, blah, blah. Even Tiffany Arnold, the office manager, was going.
Okay, I stopped you, Ms. Hawthorne. I stopped you because you're all over the place. I'm gonna let you finish talking, but I need you to, no, I can't hear you now because I muted you, okay, but I'm gonna unmute you. I can't hear you because I unmuted you. I wanted you to hear me, all right? And that is that you're kind of all over the place. Your complaint says that, you know, that your merchandise was damaged in a storage room. It seems to me that you're talking about some other personal property that was damaged. You said something about some files and somewhere slid down, some files that were under Ms. White's control slid down onto some of your items and damaged your items. Was that in the storage room or was that somewhere else? I need you to tell me about your case because that's what I'm going to have to decide on, not about the various issues and conflicts that parties may have had. You did put in your complaint that there were workmen, construction workers that were hired and that they may have caused you some damage. I need you to be specific. You told me about the storage bins. In fact, you sent pictures of the storage bin with the particular number on it. Was it just one storage bin or more than one storage bin? You're talking about how you were given permission to use somebody else's storage bin. So I need you to stick to that so that I can get to the bottom of this. So I'm going to go ahead and allow you to unmute, and then you can continue. I needed to bring you in from, you were talking about a lot of other.
All right, can you hear me now?
I hear you now. Go ahead, man.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You want me to answer the question now?
Ask questions or continue to talk about the case.
Oh, okay. Well, basically, I understand. I didn't mean to apologize for going all over the place, but it's just quite disturbing how I was treated. Nobody wrote police reports or in-house reports. The police came to the apartment to check on my things. There's no video camera, but I did show, for sure, I showed Tiffany Arnold, the manager. Miss White was going to Paris, you know, and so I went to her and I said, you need to come look at this stuff, because I was already told by the court to start packing my stuff and leave. And it was terrible. It was horrible, you know, and yes, it was another cage that I was allowed to use by another resident, which was approved by Miss Heather, okay? And she said it's fine with her. And yes, that is the area, the second cage where Miss Miranda and them had, the office had storage files, had files on top of it. And the brace of them, the brace of the cage just fell right down on top of my stuff. Okay. So Bernard, one of the maintenance worker, I told Heather, and Heather told Bernard to see if he can go in there and lift it up. So he couldn't do it. You know, it's probably still down today. So what I had to do was just pull my hats and stuff from up under there, and they were damaged. Okay, and I showed you a few pictures of the hats. And I just want to settle this. You know, I feel as though that I should get more than what I should because of all the things that my name is damaged. I applied for 2 apartments. I got evictions. You know, Pam don't have eviction, Miss Rachel. You know, and I told Miss White about it. You know, I told the maintenance people. I told the Hispanics or some Mexican housekeepers. They said that Miss Miranda White said throw it away. So everybody pointed the finger at Miranda White, and plus Miranda told me out of her own mouth that she did order my stuff to be thrown away. And I'm like, well, how could you do that? You know, me and you, I never had a problem with you. You could at least came upstairs and warned me about the construction workers. You know, they didn't put no blanket down on top of the cage, as you see, Your Honor. And they just drilled the hole and left. And she didn't care. She just sashayed on where she wanted to go. Not pay attention to me because she wanted Pam to help. She helped Pam to get me put out. So I'm done. I'm tired. I've never been so embarrassed. Yes, everybody seen me throw my stuff away. Everybody seen me in the foyer walk. Even Pam made sure she seen me walk out of that door the last time. And why Miss Miranda White let somebody violently, hit me, cuss me out. We both was cussing each other out in the office. The last thing Pam could tell the judge that I called her a black bitch. She called me all kind of bitches and pointing keys all in my faces to almost put my eye out. You know, so I don't understand. Miranda White needs to be removed from Pole community. My lawyer, where I'm with prepaid legal service or legal shield, they wrote letters 3 or 4 times. The same letter to Rochelle, who is the director over.
Your Honor, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have to object. This has absolutely nothing to do.
Well, I'm just giving the idea, sir.
When someone objects, I have to hear what they're saying. Ma'am, I muted you because he's making an objection. I have to rule on his objection and then I'll come back to you. Well, Counsel, I'm searching certainly for some relevance as to how these things apply. I know that now from testimony that this was a tenancy relationship. I don't have much information about how long term the relationship was, when it started, when it ended. It sounds like, at least from the opening statement, I heard that some events occurred in 2019. I don't know when the tenant moved out of the property. Don't know when, in relationship to or when the tenant was evicted. Don't know when the items were removed or damaged in the bins in relationship to whether or not she was still at the property. So that's why I've allowed some testimony to see if there is some information to be provided to me as to when this Hawthorne has said that this occurred in March, but she has not indicated what year. And someone indicated that an eviction order was signed in 2019, I'm sorry. So I'm going to overrule the objection at this point because I guess there's specific things that I'm looking for, but I believe that Ms. Hawthorne is coming to the end in terms of what she wishes to tell me. She's told me about 2 bins and that items were damaged in both instances. She's told me about some drilling that was done by a construction worker, and she says that there was some residue from that caused some damage in her unit. But again, so Ms. Hawthorne, I've overruled the objection. I'll allow you to continue at this point. There are concerns because you have to address whatever you're talking about to this case, because all I'll be deciding in this case is about issues, claims that there was damage to your property, because that's what you filed the lawsuit about. So that's what you have to tell me about. I'm not making a judgment on whether or not somebody inappropriately spoke to you, cussed you out. I'm not making a judgment on what the nature of the landlord-tenant relationship was, whether they should have terminated your tenancy or whatever it was. That's not my call. The reason this case is in front of me is because you sued alleging that there was damages that occurred to your property, and that damage should not have occurred. That's what this case is about. So go ahead. I've clicked for you to go ahead and unmute and continue to tell me what you wish to tell me. And then I'll be giving Mr. Ravis an opportunity to cross-examine the things that you said, because that's what the law allows. Go ahead, Ms. Hall.
Okay, well, I'm basically gonna stay to what you want me to stay to. Who witnessed it, which was Pole community employees, including the director. She knew what happened to my stuff. The maintenance man said he's aware because he was told to throw it away. The housekeeper said it. It was just, so that's the main thing. Yeah, even the corporate office had some aware of what happened because of a letter that was sent to them from Miss Ackerson or Allison, Miranda, and Chicago. So they were aware of it, they ignored it. I got one letter from Mr. Ravis stating that they stated that they asked people to remove the stuff from on top of the storage cage. However, I was not aware of that. You know, I was sick during the month, and Miss White know that I went to Henry Ford. I stayed for about 3 weeks. During the time she made an announcement, I was probably weak and didn't hear. I know that she purposely made an announcement the day that I was moving, that if anything be left behind, if anybody in the storage room, you leave anything behind, or leave anything on the floor, or whatever, I'm going to throw it out. So my thing is this: everybody was aware of in the office. I got sick because of the drilling. That basement is full of mold. My friend, he had to help me move. He had to come in there and get me. Diane got sick too, but she left out. I had to sit down in the chair. So this, my health, my mental health, the embarrassment. She knows, they know that they damaged my stuff in the cage. Let's just forget about on top of the cage then. Okay, what about all the stuff that the pictures show that this stuff got destroyed in the cage? It had nothing to do with on top of the cage. And on top of the cage, I spend a lot of money for that stuff. So I just feel as though that I should be awarded for what the damage, if it ain't nothing but in the cage, it still add up a lot of stuff that I ain't even put on there. I threw so much stuff away because, like I said, I'm a vendor. I was a vendor at the time. I bought a lot of stuff, a lot of my clothes, purses, Gucci bags. I paid $500 for. Still can't find my shoes. Just personal boots. I'm a diabetic. I had that insulin pump. I wasn't going to try to use that with all that debris. I had to throw that away, and that cost $1,000. I don't even think I put that on there. It's so much damage to my stuff until it was just horrifying for me to see that, and for the office supposed to be professional didn't even try to help me. Even when the argument happened with me and Pam in her office, she did not. I came to her after I had went to court and asked her, can I talk to her? She gave me 5 minutes. She still stood her ground and was like, oh, well, it's over with, blah, blah, blah. You can move on a mutual agreement between you and I. So back to my merchandise. I just want my money for my merchandise. I lost money selling. I lost money. I'm not a indecent person. I dress pretty nice. And all my clothes and shoes and stuff, I could not salvage. So that's my point. I could not salvage a lot of that stuff. They dumpster was full of my stuff.
All right, ma'am, how much money do you estimate, or do you think, your stuff was worth, the stuff that was thrown away that you're not able to use?
Ballpark figure between $6,000 to $10,000. I would like to have $10,000 for the simple fact that they totally ignored me, even when I cried for help to them. They totally ignored me for replacement, to even make a report. I had to go to the police, the 7 police station get, I don't know how many records that I have, but when somebody else make a report, then it's some they attended to. Like Bert, who supposed gave me the albums, his car got broken too. He make a report. They do an incident report. She did no incident reports on me to attach to anything, Mr. Rabbits. She was reckless in her behavior and didn't care. And that's what hurted me, because I was so nice to her. I was so nice to everybody. I was so nice to the girl that jumped on me. And my finger had got messed up. So I don't want to go back to that. They need to be reported to the Housing Commission, or reported to maybe federal court or something, because this is serious. If you're going to do me like this, and I got proof before I made a police report, before Pam made a police report. She was a day too late. I had already went down there and made a report. So it's just like, you know, I all my merchandise, they wrote it down on the report. So I'm looking for some money for them. And that's just really pennies compared to corporate, what they have.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Ravis, you may at this time begin the inquiry that you have, sir.
Thank you. Just to clarify, Ms. Hawthorne, you had a court hearing on August 19th, 2019, at which time the court determined that, in fact, you had to be evicted. Isn't that correct?
No, I decided that I wanted to move. Okay, because I didn't know what the office.
And that's a yes or no question. That was just a yes or no question.
No.
Okay.
I'm not going to admit to anything like that, because
there's no question.
I agreed to move. Not that eviction was put in, but I didn't think.
Ms. Hawthorne, after you answer the question, that is the answer to the question, ma'am. You already presented your side of the case. This is cross-examination. So answer the question. You indicate that you were not evicted, that there was not an eviction determination on August 19, 2019. That was the question. Now he's going to ask you more questions, and when he asks you questions, then answer the question to the best of your ability. So go ahead, Mr. Ravish, you may continue at this time.
Ma'am, you do agree that on August 19th, in case number 19-358-455, a court order was entered requiring you to vacate the property no later than September 30th of 2019. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you also moved into this unit, your apartment originally on or about August 29th, 2017. Isn't that correct?
What happened in August? Excuse me?
You moved into this building on or about August 29th, 2017.
Not true.
When did you move in?
Can I answer the question, sir?
You answered. I just asked you another question. When did you move in?
I gave them money in June. The elevators was down. I couldn't move my stuff in. And that's why Miss Miranda White paid for my storage for 2 months, because every time they gave me a move-in date, they had to change it. And plus she charged me $70 for my son and his friend to move a dresser up.
And when did you move in? When did you move in?
It's July around the second week in July, around the 14th or 15th. And I wasn't all the way, couldn't move in. They took my money.
That was 2017, correct?
I signed contracts and everything in June.
Okay, but you moved in 2017, correct?
Around about that time.
Okay. And when you moved in, you signed a storage agreement. You told the court that you had a copy of it. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, they assigned me to a storage.
Okay, Amanda, I simply asked you if that was correct. And that storage agreement was dated August 29th, 2017. Correct?
They gave me, if you got the paper in front of you, yes, it was August that I got the storage bin.
And, okay, and you read that agreement that you entered into at that time, didn't you?
I didn't understand the question.
You read the storage agreement that you entered into on August 29th, 2017 before signing it.
I didn't rent it. It's free.
No, read it. You read it.
Oh, read it. Oh, well, it was basically what I signed was 3 questions. They gave me the number and they really didn't say anything. Said that that's my storage bin and I was, that's mine. And if I move or whatever, it locked me on it, it would cut it off or whatever. But yes, I
guess
didn't
the question-
also understand it, but I signed it.
Okay.
So the question here was that, in order to get that storage bin, you signed an agreement regarding the storage bin. Is that correct? You signed
Yes,
a
I
document?
did.
All right, Mr. Rabbit,
Yeah.
make a take.
Look, I'm gonna read you, ma'am, paragraph 3 of that storage agreement. It says liability. Resident uses the storage space at resident's sole risk. 8330 on the river is not responsible for the loss of or damage to residents' possessions due to any cause. 8330 on the river strongly urges residents to obtain his or her own renter's insurance coverage for their possessions. You are aware that, in fact, you signed an agreement that had that provision in it, aren't you?
Do you see my signature on something like that? I never heard of that particular,
Well, then you told me you had the storage.
Excuse me, Mr.
I
Rabbit.
signed something, but it don't seem like I signed that.
Ma'am, you're not
Yes.
asking. Now, Mr. Rabbit is asking the question. So he asked you a question. The question is, did you sign that agreement? And your response is, what is your response to that question?
I signed the agreement for the storage cage.
Thank you. Mr. Rabbit, your question was whether she, what was your next question, sir?
I asked her next question, did she read it before she signed it? She said yes. And then I asked her if, in fact, she read this provision, paragraph 3. And I'm not sure if she said yes or no or what.
No,
That's correct. All right, thank you.
But it does give your storage agreement does contain that provision, doesn't it?
I don't have it in front of me. I'm gonna be honest. I just moved upstairs to another apartment, so that's why I don't have all my papers with me.
Okay,
So you have the papers, copies.
okay. You said you had some difficulty with your own storage unit, and because of that, you went to a friend and put some of your property into another person's storage unit? Is that what you were saying?
No, at the time, I didn't have any problem at all with what it was. I needed more storage space for my merchandise. At that time, when Diane, another resident, let me use her storage case, everything was fine then. Okay, it wasn't fine until afterwards.
So just so I understand, you were operating a business out of your apartment then to sell hats and other items, is that correct?
Pop-up shop, they gave one every week, every resident in that
Ma'am, I asked
building
you a
gave one.
question. And I asked you if you were operating a business out of your apartment to sell hats and other apparel.
Resale and also some new hats. So yes,
Okay, and you're aware of the fact that would have been a violation of your lease, is that correct?
no, because Miss Miranda White allowed for everybody to do it. Charge
Property.
$10 to everybody. If I wanted to rent the space out, I let the activity director know, and I could charge whoever, all them tables in there. Anybody who wanted to sell their resale stuff or new stuff, or people
Okay,
on the
ma'am.
outside could do it.
Ma'am,
So
I think you
I don't
better,
believe I did anything illegal.
All right, your question now, Mr. Rabbit.
okay. When the court ordered you to vacate the apartment, did you move property out of your unit?
The day that I was supposed to have moved, that I agreed with the court, which was October, October the 1st of
Did you move
2019. So
Did
I
you move-
moved all my stuff.
all your stuff out of your unit? Did you do that on your own, or do you have somebody help you?
My nephew helped me. Really was basically me and him. And then my son came
Okay.
by later on. So I really didn't have a lot of people, and I didn't leave a piece of paper on the floor. Everything
Okay.
was spotless clean, just like it was when I moved in there.
Okay, ma'am. And when you did that, did you also go to the storage area to remove the property you had stored in the storage area?
Yes,
Okay, did you take any of that property with you?
no.
You left it
In the
all there?
storage area, let me just say this. When I knew I had to move, I had rented out another storage on 8 Mile in Greenfield. So during the process up to my move out day, I was moving things out because I had to clear things out, to throw away and to keep. So whatever that was salvageable for me to keep, which was very little, I put in another storage on 8 Mile in Greenfield. You could check over there and see that I had put my stuff on Franklin. Excuse me,
Why-
on Franklin.
Why
in
didn't you
Detroit
take,
Park.
why didn't you take all of the property out of the storage area instead of leaving some behind?
I didn't leave any behind. I
You took it
left
all
that
with you.
place spotless.
Okay, okay,
Not a piece of paper on the floor in either storage.
okay.
I was one of the best tenants they had. I cleaned up behind myself.
Okay.
After the dirt that somebody else had did.
Okay, the property that you removed from the storage area, did you later sell it?
I couldn't sell nothing. What to sell what?
Whatever you removed from the storage area, that was your property.
The answer is no.
Did you discarded it all?
Except for my lingerie, a couple pair of blue jeans or whatever. But other than that, anything to be sold to make money on, I did not do that. And that's the problem here.
Okay,
I lost money.
I just want to make sure I
And plus,
understand,
my-
ma'am, I
my-
just want to make sure I understand what you're trying to tell us. When you moved out, your nephew or your son or both of them helped you move your property out of your unit. You then also went to the storage area with either your nephew or your son and removed all of your property from the storage unit and took it either to where you were moving to or a different storage area. Is that statement correct?
Deny. What happened was the things that I had moved out of to another storage area was from my apartment in 509 at 8330 on the river. Those are the things that I had put into the storage area. And then when I got this place, then I got my stuff and moved here. A little bit, I had to buy a new couch, everything. I didn't have nothing.
I'm having a
Nothing out
great
the
deal of
storage
difficulty.
area. Not a piece of paper, Mr. Rabbit. Not a piece of paper was
Okay.
left in the
Ma'am,
storage area. And
I'm
that
gonna do
didn't
it this
take
way.
any.
I'm going to ask the questions this way. I'll do it one at a time. When
Okay,
you took everything out of your apartment with you, your nephew and your son took everything out of your apartment that was there, correct?
yes,
You and your nephew and your son took everything that would belong to you out of the storage area when you moved out, correct?
yeah, made sure it was clean, or I
I
would have
didn't
been
ask you
fined
whether it was clean, ma'am.
$500.
Ma'am, I simply asked you if you did that.
Yes, I cleaned it
No,
all.
I didn't ask if you cleaned it up. I asked you if you took everything out of the storage area, and the answer to that is yes. Okay. And that includes the property that you would put in somebody else's storage unit, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Whatever that was, I don't even know what it was, a couple
Okay.
of things.
Do you have a list of the property that was damaged when you took it out of the storage unit?
You have it right there in front of you. You should have it.
Ma'am,
it's
I
called,
asked you,
no, I don't. I just told you, sir, that I had just moved to another apartment in this building, and all my stuff is my papers and everything is packed away somewhere. So what I sent you as far as the proof, witness, negatories, whatever you call that, and it has a specific outlining of 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D. You need to look on that and see that what stuff that was damaged. I don't have it in front of me. All I know, I just told you, hats, albums, personal items, health items, just things that I was supposed to sell.
but now that you're under oath, ma'am, you can't tell us what property was damaged, correct?
I didn't say I couldn't tell you, I just named them, okay?
Told me that you don't.
Okay, let's start with Betty Davis, 1946, 1936. On Life Cover magazine, when that went in the storage, that was upstairs in my apartment. When the water ran over my futon, and Mike came up and he said, "Oh, you could get some money because these some historical magazines." Okay, so
And this is
everything that
property
you
in your, this is not, I'm sorry to interrupt you, ma'am. You're talking about property in your apartment. I'm talking about property that's a subject of this litigation, which involves property in the storage area. You don't have a list that you can tell us about under oath as to what was there. So now let me
Okay.
ask
All
you,
right.
let me
Here,
ask you,
here,
ma'am, let
let
me
me
ask you
tell you.
another question. Do
No,
you-
I'm gonna tell you. I
Judge,
remember it.
Judge Coleman,
Yes, Ms. Martin.
they're interrupting too much.
I mean, that's gonna be some of it. I'll clean it up. Let's move
Okay,
forward.
all right.
Only one person can really be talking at a time. And I realize the level of attention that there may be here. The court reporter is taking down word for word. And if people are talking over each other, then that just messes up.
I apologize, Your Honor. I'm trying, she's not answering any of my questions, and so I'm trying to get her to answer my questions. So, and I
Okay.
apologize.
I'm sorry too. I apologize, Your Honor. He asking me specifics. Gucci bag, $500.
Softball, when you hear me say something, that means that you have to stop talking. That means that you have to stop talking until I reset that. That's what that means that you have to do. I'm going to let you talk about the thing. It seems that your lawsuit addresses issues regarding things that were destroyed in a storage bin or in a couple of storage bins. That's the issue that you brought before the court. I'm looking at your complaint that you started with the small claims. It says merchandise stored in apartment storage room, discarded, thrown away, belongings that are mine, my personal property, damaged merchandise by hired workmen, construction workers, and office storage case. And I can't make out something that you have at the bottom there, but that's the nature of the case that you brought in front of me. And Mr. Rabbit's inquiry at this point seems to be identify the items that you lost and to tell me how much those items were worth. So I'm going to turn it. I'm going to allow you to unmute and go ahead and answer that particular question regarding what items were lost in the storage bin or bins. Go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, Ms. Hawthorne, could please tell us, if you can, the items that were damaged or lost when you vacated?
Okay. My personal clothing.
Which
Okay.
Which one?
Excuse me. I'm gonna answer the question, sir. Dresses.
The first thing that you said was your personal clothing items were lost. 1 second, ma'am. Any questions on the personal clothing, Mr. Rapp?
Yes, what personal clothing did you lose, ma'am?
Okay, the stuff that I had, my clothes I had in the storage cage was blouses, dresses, sweaters, boots. You could see the boots damaged. I had hats in there. I had a couple of coats. I had my some medical supplies, the insulin pump, the device, tennis racket, what else? Just a bunch of clothes and some albums that was in there too. So that's my personal items. Okay. And I can't really think shoes, socks, panties, just this stuff that, when you go from the winter, you take your stuff in storage downstairs, you go in the season change. So I had clothes from winter, spring, summer, and fall.
Okay, ma'am, the blouses that you lost, how old were the blouses? Number one, how many blouses were there?
Well, let's see. I'm gonna give it about at least hello?
Yeah, let me stop you for just a moment. In reference to the items that you indicated were personal items, that you just went through. And I know that Mr. Rabbit's question was dealing with particular items. Can you tell me what the value of those items are collectively? When you think about the pump, the storage, the blouses, dresses, hats, coats, albums, tennis rackets, shoes, socks, panties, other change of weather clothing. When you look at all of those items, considering how old they are, how long you've had them, so on and so forth, what kind of value did you place on those items as a collector?
I'm gonna say, as far as my personal clothing, roughly about, I'm gonna say a couple $1,000s or more.
All right,
That's clothing,
thank you.
but I also
Mr.
had boots.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Rabbit, your inquiry.
Yes, are you talking about for the cost to replace those items, ma'am? Is that what you're talking about?
To replace those items, you're gonna have to, what do you mean by to replace?
Well, you said they're worth a couple $1,000s. I'm trying to
Oh,
figure, I'm trying to
no,
find
it was
out.
more than a couple thousand. I'm asking for $6,000. I don't buy cheap clothes. Go
No,
to
ma'am.
Macy's, go to Neiman Marcus, look at those price tags. So 6,000, let's say that, $6,000, sir.
Ma'am,
No, it's not no joke. It's not a joke. If you was in my shoes and
It's
something
not-
like that happened,
There's not a question. There's not a question.
ma'am, are you trying to tell us the cost to replace those items?
Mr. Rabbit?
Yes.
All right, now, Mr. Rabbit, you may proceed with your question.
Are you trying to tell us what it would cost to replace those items?
that's a ballpark figure, yes.
Okay,
I say it's more.
okay, that's, yeah, how old are these items?
Not old. I stay at the stores all the time, wholesale stores. I go to department stores. You
Ma'am,
know,
I
I
asked
like
you-
to dress.
Judge, she's just not answering any of my questions. I want to know how old these items were.
They wasn't old. I just moved there 2019, so it's a couple of years old.
Okay. The blouses and the clothing that you told us was damaged when you left. Were they damaged because they were dirty, or were they damaged because they were torn? Why did you say they were damaged?
There was damage because of the debris from the ceiling that fell on top of my clothing. Again, they were not salvageable for me to put on, so I threw those out. Anything that I took with me was very little out of that storage. I cleaned it out.
The property, the blouses and the dresses and the like, did you try and take them to the cleaners and have them cleaned?
No,
Why not?
because it was something that some of the stuff had got kind of like scratched and torn, and from all that debris. You seen the pictures, Mr. Ravis.
Well, I don't.
What I'm gonna take the boots and stuff like that to a cleaners when it's.
I think you answered the question. This is what we can't do this. If you answer the question, you answer the question. If you said that you didn't take those items to the cleaners because some of them were damaged beyond any control and you didn't take them to the cleaners, you answered the question. So let's go on to the next question, if you will.
All right, I have no further questions.
Thank you. All right, so Ms. Hawthorne, Mr. Rabbit doesn't have any further questions regarding the matter that you had before the court. Anything further that you wanted to say by way of any rebuttal to the cross-examination? This is your opportunity to present any other evidence that you wanted to present at this time. Go ahead, ma'am. I'm listening to you.
Well, I'm not a lawyer. We said cross-examination, just the only thing I can say is that the police was aware of my merchandise being messed up, and Pole community from local to regional. And it was witnesses of their pole community witness my stuff being damaged. And so that's all I have to say. And that it's only fair that pole community accept the fact that there were some damage. Even as Ms. Miranda White said she didn't see it or whoever, she's aware because I told her. And she said, and she admitted that she said throw the stuff out. And she told me to call the police. And I did that when I told her this, when she went to Paris. So, you know, it's only fair that I be compensated for what happened. I took a while to say something because I had got sick, real sick, had other matters. And this is why it's come up today, because I was not going to let it ride. Not that much damage. Mentally, physically, destroying. I couldn't let that go. I just can't let it go. Or they'd be doing somebody else like that. So it's only fair to address the issue, apologize to me for what they had done.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. And you have no other witnesses to present or anything today, Ms. Hawthorne, is that correct, ma'am?
No, I don't have any witness.
All right, thank you, ma'am. The plaintiff having rested this matter, counsel may proceed at this time.
I'll recall Miranda White as a witness, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. White, are you able to come on screen for just a moment, ma'am, so that Ms. White is with us? All right, raise your right hand to be sworn at this time, Ms. Miranda White. You do solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God.
You're on mute.
Yes, I do.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. White. And you may proceed at this time, Mr. Rabbit.
Ms. White, where are you currently employed?
For communities, I'm at a site 920 on the park.
Okay, and what is your job title?
My job title currently is Community Impact Manager.
Okay, you previously employed at 8330 on the river?
Yes,
And what was your job title there?
Property Manager.
Okay, are you familiar with Ms. Hawthorne?
Yes, I am.
Okay, did you have any issues with Ms. Hawthorne in 2019 which required you to start an eviction action?
Yes, sir. Yes, we did.
Briefly tell us what the problems were.
The problem was that two residents got into an altercation off-site, and they brought it back to the site. And in the management office, I witnessed Hawthorne and the other resident, Pamela Rochelle. Ms. Hawthorne was the aggressor. She tried to fight her in the office. We tried to diffuse the situation. She was very irate at the time and just was not listening to it. And then proceeded after that to even heighten the situation by continually harassing Ms. Rochelle. So that's when the 30-day notice was issued to both residents for that situation as a cooling off period and to give them the opportunity to rectify themselves. Ms. Hawthorne did not, and we continued on with the case because she kept continually harassing the resident afterwards.
Okay. You're aware that there was a storage agreement entered into with Ms. Hawthorne?
Yes, in 2017.
2017. And you heard me read the portion regarding liability, but I'll read it again to you and make sure that you're familiar with that provision in the storage agreement. It reads paragraph 3, liability. Resident uses a storage space at resident's sole risk. 8330 on the river is not responsible for the loss of or damage to residents' possessions due to any cause. 8330 on the river strongly urges residents to obtain his or her own renter's insurance coverage for their possessions. Are you familiar with that provision?
Yes, I am.
And is that provision in every tenant that signs a storage agreement at 8330 in the river?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And are these documents reviewed with the tenants prior to them signing them?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And is it your understanding that Ms. Hawthorne was familiar with the storage agreement before she signed it?
Quite. Yes, sir.
And she was explained the provision regarding liability and the suggestion that she get renter's insurance?
Yes.
Okay. To the best of your knowledge, did she obtain renter's insurance coverage for any losses?
No, she did not to the best of my knowledge.
Okay. Ms. Hawthorne has testified that she believes that some property was damaged inside her storage unit. Are you familiar with that allegation?
No, I am not.
When did she ever speak to you about damage to the property inside her storage unit?
No, because it's the resident's responsibility. No, she did not.
Okay. When did you leave 833 on the river?
In 2020.
Okay. At any time from the time she vacated until the time you left 833 on the river, did you ever speak to Ms. Hawthorne where she told you that she had lost property in the storage area?
Not one time, no.
And did she ever tell you that she had property that was damaged in the storage area?
No,
Did you ever tell Ms. Hawthorne you were throwing her property out?
no,
Okay. Did you ever throw any of her property out?
no,
Did anybody else that's employed by 833 on the river discard any of her property?
no,
To the best of your knowledge, has anybody at 833 on the river that's employed there had a discussion with Ms. Hawthorne where she said her property was damaged or lost while in a storage area?
no,
Okay. And are you still in contact with the people at 833 on the river?
yes,
Okay. And they've never said to you, in fact, you asked them, and Ms. Hawthorne's never complained about anything to them regarding the loss of property until such time in 2022 when she filed this litigation. Is that correct?
yes.
Okay. I have nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, now, Ms. Hawthorne, this is your opportunity to ask questions that may be relevant to this case. I know that there was a 2-year relationship with the premises there, but this case is not about that. This case is not about that case, that eviction case. It's not about what happened in that courtroom. This case is about claim for damages as a result of property allegedly damaged on the premises. Do you want to ask you want to ask Ms. White some questions? If you wish to, you may do so at this time, one at a time, one question at a time.
Yes,
Right ahead.
Miss White, admit that you had storage, that you had workers, contract workers to put new wires over my storage cage. Did you not hire someone in the month of either February, March to do the construction work? And you stated to the residents from that you had told everyone that their stuff was going to be, and you told me that my stuff was going to be removed. Would you please be truthful that you did tell me that I did approach you?
No,
Thank you, ma'am.
no,
Second question. I have another question. Miss Miranda White, did you not, the day that me and Pamela Rachel had an argument in your office, she started it first. She was more aggressive than me, but that's okay. Did you not call the police? And did you tell the police and told me that you did not know that my stuff at the, I was telling you, I made a comment to you that you was aware that my stuff had got destroyed, and you tried to be in denial, or you were in denial that you didn't know, but you knew at that time. You knew that my stuff, because Michael and your office managers, they all discussed.
It sounds like you're making a statement. I had to cut you off, but it sounds like you're making a statement. I need you to ask your question. It sounds like to me that your question is, at the time that there was a dispute in the office, at that time that the police was called, your question is, wasn't the police called, and did Miss White tell the police that she was not aware of your items being damaged? Is that your question, ma'am? Because I need to get to the question so that, I need to get to the question. Okay, go ahead, ma'am. Is that your question?
Admit that you was aware that my merchandise was tore up. I mean, just destroyed, thrown out, or whatever. The day of the fight, the police was called. The record number, it should be on one of the police reports. And that's when I made, okay, go ahead.
You understand the question, Ms. White? Ms. White, do you understand
No,
the
I
question?
didn't. No, I did not understand the question, but yes, the police was called.
Let me stop you. I have to stop you because you can't answer it if you don't understand the question. Here's the question. The question, yeah. Well, you said you didn't
What
understand
is
the question.
the question?
That's what, just hold on a second now. It seems to me that the question is twofold. One, did you in fact become aware of Ms. Hawthorne's items that were damaged at or near the time where there was a conflict in your office between Ms. Hawthorne and the other lady that you spoke of earlier? Did you become aware of her property having been damaged and expressed the same at that time? That's the question.
No, it was never expressed during that time. The police was called because Ms. Hawthorne became aggressive towards me. And that's when the police was called.
All right, and the question, her question is that, a follow-up question I think that she had was, at the time that you spoke with the police, did you say something to them about her property being destroyed or moved?
No.
Ms. Hawthorne, back to you. Any further questions, ma'am? You may.
Well, basically, that's it. The police have a list of items that was stolen or damaged, and so it's in the police report. So I don't know how Miss Miranda White don't know. I just want to end this, settle it. You know, my life is destroyed. Thanks a lot, Miss Miranda White, for standing on the oath line that you did not know all these police reports.
Do you have another question? You'll get to give a closing statement if you want to. Well, you'll get to give a closing statement. Right now, the only thing that you can do is ask questions. If you have another question, then I'm gonna allow you to be unmuted to ask your question. You'll get a chance to summarize and tell me what you believe this case has shown, what you believe is the truth or not the truth. But at this point, the only thing you can do is ask questions if you have any questions. All right, go ahead, ma'am, if you have another question.
Well, do we have to be related to the merchandise or just the things I just talked about? I just want to ask her, had that girl, the lady, Miss Pamela Rachel, why did she let her stay and put me out since she said that we was aggressively arguing in her office? Why did she choose her side when I came and there's police reports indicating what she had done to me?
All right, excuse me, that question is not relevant to.
Okay.
Okay,
All right, I'm done. No further questions.
All right, thank you. Mr. Rabbits, any questions on rebuttal at this time, sir?
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, at this point, Mr. Rabbits, any other testimony, anything else you wish to present at this time, sir?
Nothing further.
All right, the plaintiff defendant having rested in this matter, it's now time for the parties to give their closing arguments or summations as to what they believe the case has shown and what they are asking the court to do. And Ms. Hawthorne, because you have the burden of proof, you get to go first to tell me what you believe the case has shown and what you're asking the court to do. Go ahead, ma'am.
From all the pictures, proof that there were actually damage done to my property, and from the police reports of me sharing this information, the 7th precinct, and from me telling Miss Miranda White and office staff what had happened, I am asking in closing for apology and to accept the fact that you were recklessly negligent. And just be honest, because we are in court. We are in court, and I have nothing to lie about. I lost everything. I lost my name. I lost my merchandise. You know, just people, you know, that I didn't even go back over 8330 to even talk to was very few. And I'm not trying to keep bringing back up Miss Rachel, but when my Miss White knew that my grandson had got killed, that same year, I went in November. I was going to Chicago. Pam went, she lost her purse at the train station. She tried to blame me. And then I turned around and paid her ticket back. And for her to sit up and say that I'm a mean person and that I kept picking with her, she the one, and Miss Miranda White and her staff was attacking this against me to make me look foolish and stupid. And I'm not that anymore. I'm not that person no more. I'm trying to do better for myself and not be around or even associate myself with any type of new apartments that I go to when I see things is not right. I'm moving out the one that I'm in now. I really, it's a beautiful area. East side is nice. Off the river is nice. And for all the activities that was allowed to be going on, not just with me, I was not comfortable. My car kept getting broke in. My apartment tried to get broke in, and all the drugs and everything that was going on around there. And I was the only one that came to Miss Miranda White and told her these things. And for her to let someone else stay there that damaged my life per se, but I'm move on. Miss Wright, I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna forgive you, but I'm not gonna forget because you were unprofessional in how you handled this whole situation. You promised me, you said, Rosalind, you're gonna move on a mutual agreement. Yes, I moved. When I got to court, I told the judge I went in the side room and signed papers, but I didn't really know what I was signing with Tiffany and your judge, your lawyer. And so once the lawyer got, I could have had waited to say what I had to say to the lawyer and to the judge and ask him to let me stay. Then how was that would have been then? You gonna fight an argument about what Pam did and what I did? And about my merchandise? He told me to go take you out of court about my merchandise. And then for me, if I want to leave the October the 1st, I can leave. And I told him, yes, I wanted to leave because by then I was broken. So I'm done. Thank you, Your Honor, for letting me have the closing arguments.
Thank you, Ms. Hawthorne. All right, Mr. Ravish, you may at this time, sir.
Yes, Your Honor, very briefly, the agreement that the parties signed provides that there's no liability on behalf of the landlord in this matter. It's a binding agreement, and there's absolutely no reason whatsoever why the court should not dismiss the case simply based on the fact that the parties entered into a binding agreement where the risk of loss is on the tenants for these storage areas, and they're even advised to get renter's insurance. That being said, even if it wasn't for the agreement, there's no liability here. Ms. White's testimony is clearly that she never received any complaints from Ms. Hawthorne regarding damage to her property. Ms. Hawthorne testified that she removed all of the property from the storage area, but she believes part of it was damaged. But it doesn't appear that she made any attempt to salvage any of it. I'm not sure, some of it may have been torn, she said, but she didn't say how much. We certainly know that may have been dirty, but things get dirty in the storage area anyway, and she could have taken it to the cleaners.
Oh,
Last and most importantly, Your Honor, there's no evidence of damage. There's no evidence that what was damaged and what the value of that damage was. It's not replacement value. It's not what she paid for it. The element of damage or the amount of damage would be what the value of that property is at the time it was damaged and allegedly destroyed. There's no evidence whatsoever for the court to rely upon to determine that. So, for example, if there was a blouse in there that was 1 day old, it's assigned one value. If there's a blouse in there that was 3 years old, it has a different value. And obviously the property couldn't have been sold because she was in violation of her lease, operating a business out of her apartment to sell clothing, from what she tells us. Based on all that, Judge, the court should find there's no cause of action in this case, and the complaint should be dismissed with prejudice.
Thank you, counsel. All right, and Ms. Hawthorne, you get the very last word in this matter, ma'am. In finality, you get the last word. So go right ahead with anything in finality that you wish to tell me this time.
Okay. Mr. Rabbits, the comment that you just made that I admit operating a store, most of the things, I'm not the only one that was selling stuff. Ms. Wright knows that. She approved the activity director to allow the residents to have garage sales, to have sales, and etc. So please don't make it seem like I was sneaking doing something. It was well aware of all the activity at 8330 on the river, everybody on the east side, councilwomen, Mary Sheffield, Jewel Ware. They have so many people come through there through activities, sales, the support. So I'm not trying to make something out of nothing. You said salvageable, a blouse. That blouse, how do you know that value of that blouse was? You know, I gave you a whole list of things that I felt that was, I judge your list. I made a mistake and gave the judge, I mean the defendant lawyer, Mr. Raps, your copy. And your copy that you got was more like a little run-on type of copy, but he has the copy. He has everything in front of him. I sent it to him on the date, the whole list of everything and what the value is worth. So I already been bamboozled and tricked and set up and framed. And it seems like this is what they're trying to do again. Ms. Miranda White is lying about that she did not was aware of what about my property being thrown out because she ordered it. And I'm going, and that's just the honest to God truth. And she's aware of it and she knows it. And she feels as though that she shouldn't have to pay because she don't care about me no way. So of course she's gonna stick with the same thing. Of course she don't care. That's just like murder. You know the person murdered somebody, but you ain't got no proof. But I got proof though. I got proof that y'all destroyed my property, destroyed. I don't care about the lease agreement, about whatever you said that I signed. I'm talking about your construction workers. You telling me to go and sue your construction workers? I'm suing you because you allowed that to happen. That has nothing to do with no lease. I have not broke no lease, did anything out of place, but nothing but being nice to you. You didn't say nothing when I gave you them gloves, the new pair of gloves, your whole office staff, about 5 pair of gloves. So when the situation came up like that, that's what I'm mad about. When you knew no people's coming to over my cage and you knew exactly what my cage number was, you didn't have nobody come upstairs and knock on my door and say, Rosalind, they drilling holes or nothing. And you was talking about you not aware about stuff that was thrown away. Your staff said you said throw it away. You admitted it. So please stop lying to the court. You could go to jail for this. This is the criminal situation. That's what it's looking like now. Because if you go back to the police report, you're going to see that there was a police report, 3 or 4, 5 police reports made by me. And the only reason why Pam I couldn't do nothing with Pam is because the day I went to the court, y'all sent me the PPO, put a protection case on me. You kept provoking her. I mean, you kept cahoots with her to provoke me, like what she did. Walked past me and said something after the day of the fight at the park, Blues in the Woods. I never seen on motorcycle riders, people with fancy cars, bandstand. Never seen no fight down there but me and this other girl. She never liked me. And then because her brother wanted to have something to do with me, he's married. I wasn't gonna have nothing to do with him. I just said I'd ride to the park. So he was mad because I had an older friend who had a Corvette, was jealous. That man from Trinidad, and he took me to Trinidad, you know.
Hey, ma'am, I told you get the last word, but you know, you gotta talk about stuff that's relevant to the case, ma'am. You're kind of like all over the place a little bit. So let me come back to you so you can have, you finish up your last word. It shouldn't take this long, ma'am. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, ma'am. Anything else as your last word, Ms. Holmes?
Well, I feel bad that I experienced this at Pole Community because I really did like the apartment building where it was set at. And everything was going fine until Miss Miranda.
Done 2 minutes.
Okay, I'm done. Mr. Rabbits.
Thank you. Thank you very much to all of the participants in this matter. And the court has certainly listened to the testimony offered in this matter by both Ms. Hawthorne and as well as by Ms. White. The court is aware that in this matter that there was a landlord-tenant relationship that endured for some 2 years, that there were conflicts that arose at some point. The defendant in this matter, Cole community, sought to end the relationship. Ultimately, the relationship was ended. There were disputes as to whether or not the blame of this should be laid on the shoulders of Ms. Hawthorne or some other person. But the approach that Cole took was certainly to terminate the relationship with Ms. Hawthorne. Those are issues that obviously are not before this court. Those are issues that the parties consummated in the context of an order that ultimately allowed for termination of the tenancy and separation of the agreement. It seems to me that as a part of that, that Ms. Hawthorne moved from the property. Her testimony is that when she moved from the property, that she removed all of her items and didn't leave a piece of paper on the floor. And moreover, that with regard to the 2 bins that she had for storage use, that she removed items from those bins and took items with her. She indicated that she discovered that many of her items had been damaged and that they were no longer usable, that some items had been smashed, some items were stained. She indicated that some of those items were personal items, and that she also had she would operate a pop-up shop as everyone else that she indicated, several other people at the premises would operate various pop-up shops and sell goods that they had available for sale. Doesn't seem that that was whatever occurred there, that was something that posed a threat to the tenancy because the tenancy came to an end because there was a dispute with another tenant that was going on. There was nothing that had to do with anything regarding the sale of goods or anything along those lines. This was about a dispute with another tenant that didn't seem to end well, that resulted in the Polk community deciding that they should end the tenancy, and the parties took their separation. What this case is about, it is about the items that were contained in the storage bins and what rules apply there too. And so it's the plaintiff, Ms. Hawthorne's burden, as she presented this matter to the court, to show that her personal property and or other items that she may have offered from sale to time, that those items were damaged by the defendant's intentional acts and or negligent acts, and that by the damage of such properties, that any damage that occurred was without legal excuse or justification. And I deal with the legal excuse or justification in the first instance because there is a storage agreement that was signed by the parties mutually upon entry into the premises. And that storage agreement was an agreement that shifted the burden of responsibility as it relates to the items that were in storage. What it did is that agreement says that that a person can make use of the storage, tenants can make use of various storage bins, but they use them at their own risk, and that if for any reason damage occurs to the items that are in the storage bins, that the tenant agrees that they bear the risk of any damage that may occur to their items, and that therefore they will have the option of insuring the items that they put into the bins. And in effect, the storage agreement says that the only remedy that would be available to a tenant making use of the storage bins would be their own election to insure their property or not. Because the storage agreement says that if for any reason the items within the storage bin are damaged or destroyed or lost, that they take no responsibility for that. And so what the nature of that agreement is that the agreement is that you can make use of the bins if you agree that putting items in the bins could face great risk. They could be destroyed, they could be stolen, they could be damaged. But you can put it in there if you want to, and you should insure it because the poll community is not going to guarantee that those items are going to be kept safe and sound and free from damage. So that in this case, it's the burden of, it was the burden of the plaintiff in this case to establish that damage occurred to items that she had. The plaintiff did present to the court, and it seemed that without objection, various photographs showing various items that she had that seemed to have had some damage to those items. Moreover, she testified that she had several items that were that when she went to retrieve those items, they were damaged and or missing from the various storage bins. When asked about what the amount of damage was, the damages would have to be proven with some degree of exactitude. There would have to be a way of establishing item by item or collectively some amount that would establish what the damages were. Ms. Hawthorne said at one point that the personal items were in the nature of $2,000. She said the overall items were in the nature of $6,000. Then she said all the items together were in the nature of $6,000 to $10,000. Well, that's another way of saying that I don't know and I can't prove what the damage amount was, even if I incurred some damage. And that's what occurred in this case. There's not really any proof of the damage amount. If there was if damage occurred to some items, and clearly the testimony establishes that some items were damaged. The testimony establishes that there were items that she found to be unusable. But there is not sufficient testimony here by any stretch of the imagination to establish by any reasonable criteria as to what the damage amount would be. 2,000, 6,000, between 6 and 10,000. The damage amount would be too inexact for the court to be able to make any determination such that the court could have ran an award of damages. So from that analytical standpoint, the court cannot see where there has been sufficient proof of damages upon which the court could grant relief. But more significantly in this case is decided by the agreement that the parties reached. The agreement that the parties reached is an agreement that says that the tenant may store property in the storage bins at their own risk. And there is a recommendation that is set forth in the agreement that the tenant should get renter's insurance, because the agreement is that the tenant is placing the items in the bin at the tenant's own risk. The agreement goes so far as to say, if the property is destroyed or damaged for any reason, if the bins collapse, if the place catch on fire, if the dog come and piss in it, I don't say that to try and be funny. I'm not trying to be funny at all. I'm sensitive to the fact that people lose stuff, that stuff gets harmed. That's very important. But you have to look at where the burden of risk is. And here, the burden of risk that the parties agreed to was that the risk of damage to the property in the bins, that risk rests on the shoulders of the person putting the property in the bins. Therefore, that person either would insure those items or they would leave it to chance. They would leave it to the prospect that maybe something gets moved, maybe something gets damaged, maybe construction occurs and damage occurs as a result of construction. But you go back to the agreement says that no matter how the damage occurs, no matter what happens to the property, how it happens, who does it, that the risk of that rests on the shoulders of Ms. Hawthorne, who had the items placed into the respective bins. That agreement itself ends this case. I heard the case. I want to hear every angle of it to see whether there was some basis for some relief or just to do a thorough job to make sure that I understood the issues that are at work here. But the parties decided this case in 2017. The parties decided the outcome of this case in 2017. In 2017, the parties got together and signed an agreement regarding the use of the bins, regarding the rental of the use of the storage bins. That agreement says that the owner will allow you to use these bins and will assign these bins to you for your use. That we do that, you put your stuff in there, if anything happened to it, it's on you. Anything goes wrong, you get damaged, destroyed, fire, water, whatever. If anything happens to it, it's on you. So therefore, get insurance, get renter's insurance, because if something happens here, all of that is on you regarding the storage bins. That same position could not be taken in the context of other places within the premises that's not before the court. If these items were stored in the closet inside of Ms. Hawthorne's apartment, and there was rain damage or some other form of damage that occurred that might inure to the responsibility of the landowner, then they could be held liable for that. The storage bin, there's a separate agreement regarding the storage bin. And that separate agreement is an agreement that puts the responsibility for any damage that occurred to items in the storage bin on the person making use of the storage bin. The parties decided this case in 2017. What the court does today is simply apply the agreement that the parties had in 2017. That agreement says that Ms. Hawthorne bears the responsibility for any damage that occurred to her properties that were within the storage bins, and that there is no liabilities as it relates to pro community. For that reason, my finding is that there is no cause of action in this matter and no award of damages. The case will be dismissed accordingly. That is my judgment. That is my order. I will issue an order consistent therewith. Good day to all parties. I wish you well. And thank you, Ms. Martin. Good day to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right. Again, thank you, Ms. Martin, and have a good day, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Judge. You have a great day as well.
All right.
Bye, Latifa.
She stepped out. She's already gone.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
All right.